Thank you for joining us on this election night. Polls have closed for just over 3 hours now, and it was a fairly decisive night for most of the major races.
That's right, and we have team coverage for you tonight. Natalie Chuck in the studio, taking a look at the overall vote. Colette Bordelon watching our state ballot propositions.
Veronica Acosta is keeping an eye on Denver's referendum 310 on the city's flavored nicotine product ban. But first, let's get right over to Denver7's Ryan Fish with the latest on the 5 ballot issues concerning the vibrant Denver bond package. The mayor's celebrating those results tonight, Ryan.
Yeah, Shannon and Jessica, a big win tonight for Mayor Mike Johnston and supporters of this nearly $1 billion bond package that will now fund a variety of projects around the city. All 5 parts of the bond passing tonight by roughly 20% or more, pretty decisive numbers. And since those early results came in, it's been a celebratory mood here. In fact, we were here when Mayor Johnston first arrived at the watch party. A lot of hugs, celebrating with supporters. He gave a victory speech as well on stage with city council members Darrell Watson and Diana Romero Campbell. Former Mayor Federico Pena also here. And afterward, I spoke with him in a one-on-one interview. He told me tonight shows Denver voters fundamentally believe in investing in the city and believe in his administration's leadership. I asked him if he was surprised by how much voters seem to believe in this bond and what his message is to those worried about making this big financial commitment.
I'm delighted and surprised. I mean, I think we wanted to get to 50% plus one. To be in the 60s on almost all these measures is incredible for us. So I think it's a great affirmation of how hard we worked, how many Denver residents got engaged in this. When you want to get out of a recession, you have to cut costs, but you also want to increase revenue. And these are the investments that increase revenue. They drive the rec centers and the parks and the roads and the bridges and the places that attract people to want to live and spend money here.
And Johnston says tomorrow the work starts to making these projects a reality for people, and that some will break ground as early as this week. He also says he wants the city to have the most transparent process it's ever had to track the progress on these projects. We'll, of course, hold them accountable on that and keep watching as this all unfolds. For now, live in Denver, Ryan Fish, Denver7.
We haven't seen Mayor Johnston that excited since he was elected.
That's right.
Ryan,
thanks for your work tonight. Veronica Acosta now watching the referendum on Denver's flavored nicotine ban. Voters overwhelmingly choose to keep that ban, Veronica.
They did, and the campaign to repeal that ban on those flavored nicotine products, as you just mentioned, that was steamrolled tonight in that latest drop. More than 70% of Denver voters choosing to continue to support that ban. Now, we were at both the no and the yes on 310 watch parties, both of those ending early because of the results that ended up coming through. We were actually at no on 310 during that 7 p.m. drop, and you could just sense an immediate shift in that mood in the room throughout those somber faces there. A lot of vape shop owners were among that crowd. They were disappointed in those early numbers that they were seeing, but as you can probably imagine, a completely different story over at yes on 310, where there was cheers, there was clapping, there was some victory speeches as well. Now, we spoke to those on both sides of this campaign about how they were feeling tonight after some of those drops.
What tonight shows is that Denver voters were very clear about what yes meant, and it meant a vote for Denver's kids.
I really feel like I've contributed in a positive way, and I feel that all of these businesses do on a daily basis, and this is just a slap in the face.
And something you can't ignore that surrounds referendum 310 and that has surrounded it for weeks is the price tag that's attached to it. This was the most expensive race in Denver in this election. More than $5 million pouring into it. Nearly $5 million of those dollars, those went to the Yes on 310 campaign. They came from New York City, or the former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg. He was very invested in keeping this ban in place. Tonight, seemingly, he gets his way, but of course, those official results, they have not been certified just yet. That happens on November 21st. In Denver, I'm Veronica Acosta, Denver7.
All right, thank you, Veronica.
Denver7's Colette Bordelon is on top of the 2 statewide propositions concerning the school meals program. Voters approving both of them tonight, giving that program a lifeline and helping Colorado's SNAP recipients. Colette?
The celebration here at Renegade Brewing just wrapped up with those in support of both of those statewide issues, Propositions LL and MM, telling me they are over the moon as they head home this evening, knowing both of those races were called in their favor. So what this means is that the state of Colorado can now keep and spend more than $12 million of excess tax revenue that was already collected as part of Proposition FF. Voters approved that in 2022, and it created the Healthy School Meals for All program, which offers free school meals to all students at participating public schools. Now, if LL would not have passed, that money would have been refunded to households making $300,000 or more. Those households will also have their state income taxes increased on average by roughly $480 a year since Proposition MM was also called tonight. That money will go toward the Healthy School Meals for All program and supporting SNAP. We were here tonight when those races were called.
We are here in support of Propositions LL and MM that have been called. Yeah, this means Colorado's Healthy School Meals for All program continues past this year, can be fully implemented.
I also spoke with the Colorado Secretary of State. She tells me, of course, these results on election night are unofficial. She did also say that off-year elections like this one, they might not be as flashy as presidential elections or midterms, but she says they arguably have more of an impact on us here locally. Live in Denver, Colette Bordelon, Denver7.
All right, Colette, thank you very much. Our team coverage continues now. Denver7's Natalie Chuck in the studio tonight. You're looking at voter turnout, but also there's some interesting results coming out of the Aurora City Council race, Natalie.
Hey there, Shannon and Jessica. Yeah, like you just heard Colette say, these do have an impact right here at home. And big news that could be coming out of the Aurora City Council member at large race. Incumbent Danielle Durinsky, a household name really at this point with just how much she's been in the media over the last year. It's still a really tight race, but take a look at these numbers. And I should preface, they are being updated minute by minute, but at last check, she is still a couple thousand votes behind getting one of those two at-large seats. This is really a shocker. Anyone who lives in Aurora definitely knows the name Danielle Durinsky, so I think it was really expected that she would come out on top with that name recognition. But of course, we are still waiting for these results to be official, as you have heard throughout the night, and we are still waiting on more results to come out, but still pretty shocking early on to see this. Now, as they mentioned earlier, Colette said, not as flashy, and you can see that in the total number of voters turning out across the state. We saw a little over 1.2 million people out there. That's a little bit over 30%, pretty on par with what we saw with a similar election about 4 years ago, a little bit lower at this point. Now, we want to take you over directly to Denver, here locally at the voter turnout of people showing up out there. Also, about little over 30% out there. I think that this number is hopefully being updated for statewide. So it looks like a little bit more, about 1.3 million out there. But we do want to hopefully get you some updated Denver numbers that we should have for you all. If not, we do know off the top of our heads that a little bit over 30% of Denver voters showed up. The vast majority of those, Shannon and Jessica, were those Democratic voters as well as those unaffiliated Republicans not showing up quite as much. And, you know, about 30%, definitely not something big like we saw last November. We'll likely see more next year in 2026 in November, but right now, it's still 30% of people getting out there, showing up for their community and making their voices heard. And we saw those really close races, probably as a result of how tight this is. And we also saw those overwhelming victories like we saw for Prop LL and MM. So still a good night for elections here in Colorado, you guys.
Plenty of drama, even in an
Yeah,
off-year
exactly.
election.
In an
All right.
off year.
Natalie, thank you very much. Our election coverage continues right after this. We have a very special political analyst, Alton Dillard, was joining us to provide some insight into what we saw tonight.